Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Javier here from the War Room, from the headquarters here at the Real Javier Novoa. Just reminding you today, you know, it's easy to get crazily caught up in these processes of planning, in these processes of getting specific, and so on and so forth. And we always have to take a step back, especially Sunday's a good symbolic time to do that. Just take a step back and recollect, because this week we are going very deeply into the strategic modalities, into the planning modalities, because it's fun. But remember not to get caught up in thinking that the planning is the active ingredient, so to speak, in getting you what you want. No, because you already have what you want. There's no path there. This is just a fun path to take, and it's going to give you that feeling of momentum. It's going to give you that feeling of motion forward. And in fact, the end results of it are going to come differently than you could expect or you could know. So in these early parts of the strategic planning, especially in the ideational phases and so on and so forth, especially if you've chosen something that you really have no idea what to do or how to approach. And by the way, that is the juiciest part of these creative modalities. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just planning a lunch or so on and so forth, the tools of planning will help you and so on. But the result isn't going to be that exciting. But if you're going into something that you have no idea how to do, you will be able to see firsthand how these metaphysical tools, how these spiritual tools, how these philosophical tools, and how this process of allowing gets you the information that you need and unfolds the next steps to you. That's why in the last video we talked about right brain thinking. We're not done with that. We're going to be going very deeply into that. How to activate the right brain, how to put it in charge for a time, and how to make the left brain the servant of the right brain. As Hume said, logic and rationality is the slave of the passions and ought to be. And when he talked about passions, he meant that unseen realm, that super logical realm that basically is where we want to be, is the ether, and gets us to where we want to be. I hope you understand me just a little bit. If you don't understand a lot of things with a rational mind, that's probably even better, because you're not going to be trying to wrap your rational mind around things so much. And that's where we trip up the most, when we try to use our logical mind for this. So in these right-brained sessions that we're going into, all we're asking you to do right now in this early stage of the game is just to set aside a time to go to your designated area, if you can, by the way. And it can be more than one area, and it can even be mobile. And we will show you how to do this very easily and so on and so forth. Many political figures have called it a war room. It's basically that place that'll get you in the state, so to speak, or help you get into the state. It'll get you into the inspired surroundings so that you can then start flowing ideas and so on and so forth and getting into flow. But in this very early part of the game, ladies and gentlemen, we're just basically sitting. That's right, we're basically coming in and doing a spiritual practice. We're sitting, and like one author said, he said, when I go to write, a lot of times I won't want to write, I won't feel inspired to write, and that's fine. He said you can sit there, but you can only do two things. You can write, or you can just sit there and be present, but you can't do anything else. Now, our modality is not that strict. Indeed, you may have the inspiration to go search something on the internet, and go do that, but you'll know whether or not you're getting off task or being on task solely by the way you feel. Right now, your only map is the way you feel. So if you're getting on social media, for example, and you have that little feeling inside that feels like you're procrastinating, or feels that you're getting off task, or even feels bored, then modify that behavior a little bit and stop what you're doing and ask yourself, is this really something that's inspired by the ether? And then go and wait until you get inspired and do some action. You could even ask yourself questions like, since I am in the state that I want to be, what would I be doing were I already in that state? And that will get you right into that film role. Basically, right now, you're just prodding, you're just surveying the territory, and you're basically receiving any random parts of information that you feel important by your intuition, by your right brain. This is even how detectives and investigators and crime scenes and mathematicians and scientists start with the first parts of their research, and they keep going back into this. In fact, there's a great book called A Mind for Numbers. I'd recommend that you read it. And it's talking about how people who are not numbers inclined can go and excel in mathematics and the sciences. And she devotes a large part of that book to this dissipated line of thinking, to this loose thinking. I forget exactly the words that she uses, but it's basically what we're teaching in the beginning parts of this course on strategic planning. Right now, you're not trying to force your thinking into any kind of mold. You're just going off your feelings. You're keeping the objective in the back of your mind, and you're receiving any thoughts that come in, or even any non-thoughts that come in. Because remember, you're going to get a lot of inspiration and a lot of thoughts outside of these sessions, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the way it works. This is